Hey, nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Jason. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jason. I'm based out of Ontario, Canada. Founder of a company called Productive PMM. And I write a newsletter called PMM Files. And in that newsletter, we get to talk a lot about cool product marketing examples. And so when Natalie reached out and asked if I wanted to come and do this session, I said, sure, why not? I do this every week anyway. So I'm excited to talk about one of my favorite websites today. And break it down. Hey, Anna. And so, yeah, I'm excited to do that. Give it a couple more minutes for people to roll in. But one of the things for anyone who's here now, the example that I'm going to show you today is a website that I love because the company itself, the website itself, and all these different kind of like cool offshoot pages that they have, they all just do one thing really well. And they drive home that this company has a very strong point of view, but also understands their target customer extremely well. So one of the things that'd be cool, because I don't think it's going to take me the whole time to go through this example, is if you just want to drop in the chat examples of other companies that you feel do this extremely well. And it doesn't even have to be in B2B SaaS, but I'm going to go take a look at their website. So if you want to just drop in the website of companies, probably in B2B SaaS or in like B2C, software, whatever, a site where I can go check out their website, who you feel do a really great job of having like a very strong point of view, being very clear and understanding who their target buyer is, and like talking to them extremely well. Hey, Rob. So yeah, but we're a couple minutes in. I imagine everyone who's going to make it is in here. And if you're not, I'm sure you'll trickle in afterwards and you'll get the gist. You know what to expect. So I'm going to share my screen. But first, before I do, I'll kind of just outline what's the point of this session. And I don't know if you're getting Natalie's newsletter. If you're in this session, you probably are. But it's all about buyer first, and particularly talking about buyer first websites. And to me, what does it mean to be buyer first? I'm sure if any of you who have read like April Dunford's book or anything like that, she has this great stat, and I'm sure other people quote it as well. 40 to 60% of purchasing processes are abandoned, and they are not abandoned because people go, or 40 to 60% of purchasing processes, people just decide to do nothing. So basically, you are losing out on customers, not because they choose your competitor, but because buying is really hard and it's overwhelming. And a lot of times it's easier for people to do nothing. And so buyer first, in my opinion, are people who make, in the example of a website, but just buyer first companies and go to market. They try to make it really easy for buyers to buy your product. The easier you can make it to understand what your product is, get behind the wheel, try it out, understand your pricing, all these things, the easier it is for a buyer to understand the value, understand what it is they're buying, justify the investment in it, explain it to other people in their company, all that stuff that we take for granted, but it's actually really hard to do. So the example that I'm going to talk about today is Basecamp. So let me share my screen. Awesome. Cool. Natalie, let me know if for some reason I'm not sharing my screen, but I'm going to assume we are. Okay, so Basecamp, I'm going to go through the homepage here, but I'm going to go through some other like offshoot pages as well. And other, I call them offshoot pages, but essentially like sub pages of their site that I feel do a really great job of a couple of things. One is being very clear on their point of view, making it very easy for buyers to feel good about the purchase that they're going to make and feel confident. And I guess three things is clear on their point of view, make it really easy for people to understand and to feel confident about buying. And then also being very clear on who their product is for. So that's things that I feel they do extremely well, and I'll touch on those. But I'll also just call out, and in this case, I'll call out one thing that I think on their page, I think is like one thing I probably would change. But I understand why they did it, because their founder, Jason Fried, actually did a video explaining this hero. So when I get to a site, one of the things I expect to see is like an image of the product, especially if it's a SaaS product. In this case, I can see very clearly it's project management, refreshingly simple project management. And down here, I can see Basecamp's the project management platform that helps small teams move faster and make more progress than they ever thought possible. So like clear on, they're built for small teams, right? It's project management platform. But I'm always, they made this change and they took away the product image and they replaced it with these two people talking. But the one thing I kind of like about this is, and this is a theme you see across their site, is that they know people who come to this site already have some sort of solution. So they might be using like Notion, they might use spreadsheets. A lot of them, they'll probably use like Asana, they might use ClickUp, they might use these other tools. And so what they're really focused on here is these two people having a conversation. And the person on the left is the person using the old tools, the other competitors, the alternatives. The person on the right is the person using Basecamp. And every time you refresh it, or if you refresh the page, they're having like different conversations. Person on the left is talking about how complex these things are, how hard it is to stay on top of everything. And the person on the right is being like, yeah, I switched to Basecamp and it's awesome. So you'll see this as a theme throughout where people are saying, Basecamp is so much easier. My life is so much better now since I've started using it. And you'll see throughout, they're trying to get people to switch and come to Basecamp, which I think, and they're trying to make them feel confident about making that decision. The other thing that I think they do really well, and we all know Novatic, and we all know the importance of showing people your product. They don't use interactive demos, although I do think they could in a lot of these cases. But they do a really great job with their, in this case here, this explainer video. I really love because it doesn't start off with this kind of narrative that goes through this long-winded, here's what's happening in the market, and here's what's, trying to paint some picture of value and like this further order benefit. It gets right into, hey, you're trying to manage a project. Here's how you do it in Basecamp. And so they bring you into this rooted designs, mock use case here, and they walk you through how to actually manage a project in Basecamp, and they walk you through how to use the product. And it's done in 3 minutes. So it's a very, very good example of like a quality, helpful explainer video. The other thing, and you'll see this throughout, this is actually like their feature benefit page, if you will, but you can get to this from multiple different areas. And I actually think this is kind of like what you would see if you're on an interactive demo, but they just do it with screenshots. And then they have these kind of hard-coded, just HTML. It's just part of the screenshot is these little tooltips on some of them. But it's this very big, it's easy for you to see the product. It's true to like the actual UI of the product. And so they walk you through their features. Now, if you actually go to the features page, I love how they talk about it's not everything under the sun, just the stuff to get it done. One thing that they'll continue to drive home on their site is that they're not going to have all the same features as something like a ClickUp or maybe an Asana. They give you just the essentials. They're a simpler product, but it's what small businesses need. And then if you come down through this, it is basically like a product demo, just broken down in different screens. So it starts with home, right? Basecamp begins at home. And then if you use these left and right toggles, they actually just kind of walk you through all the different parts of their product, all the different capabilities of it. And when needed, they'll kind of call certain things out, right? So I love that from a demo perspective. It would be really interesting to see, and Natalie never asked me to say this, but it would be really interesting to see on these pages if they had some sort of interactive demo where like in a few clicks, I could actually check this out. That would like make it even better. Cool. A couple other things to show on the homepage. They make it really clear who their product is for. So leave the grind behind, glide through projects instead. It's a struggle to juggle people, projects, client deadlines, and expectations, especially when you're the underdog. So they talk about this idea of the underdog. They try to really champion the small business owner and the small business. And so throughout their site, they're very focused on that particular buyer. And there's another couple pages I'll show you that really drive that home too. But they do a very great job of talking about who they're specifically for. And so if you're a small business that comes to this page, you know immediately this was built for me. The last thing that I want to touch on before I move on to another page, change for the better. So again, to that point right in the hero, and I talked about it, it's this person talking about, oh, I'm using these, that conversation between the two people. I'm using this old antiquated tool where it's too confusing, there's too much. And this person's like, hey, come over to the better, simpler world of using Basecamp. I love how all their social proof is focused on that same theme. So they've got tons, like literally thousands of testimonials and things like that. But I love how they focus on making them all around the same theme. So here it's change for the better. We asked our customers, what changed for the better since you switched to Basecamp for project management? Thousands responded, literally. And so all of these quotes, again, are making you think, oh, I should probably switch. It's probably the better call. I'm probably not going to regret it. And all of these things help make you feel confident about making that decision. Okay. If you clicked on that, or if you clicked here or on multiple different areas, you would land on this page. And this is like the biggest wall of love, and we've heard of these before, that I've ever seen. And there's no way you're going to go down and read through these, but the one thing that it makes you feel is like, man, a lot of people have switched to Basecamp and are happy about doing it. And so again, making you feel confident. They do a really great job of that with social proof. They also created this other offshoot page that they call Night and Day. And in my opinion, and one of the things that can help your buyers buy extremely well is comparison pages. I think a lot of people need help comparing you against other alternatives. And this is an example of a comparison page that's like you versus a whole other industry, or like everything else in the industry. And they kind of bucket all of these tools into this, hey, it's all this mishmash of either these super complex tools or multiple ones that you have to piece together. And so they have testimonials from people before they switch to Basecamp and then after they switch to Basecamp. So again, from a social proof perspective, I think they crush it on this website. Let's talk about their pricing page. So when you look at their pricing page, again, one of the things that sticks out right away is another 1,611 organizations signed up last week. A lot of people will use this title for something like pricing or package, all the packages you need for your organization or something like that. And what I think they do extremely well is they use this to be like, again, giving you confidence. A ton of other people signed up last week. Why don't you join them, sort of thing. But the other thing I really love is they make their pricing really simple. Now, Basecamp is a company that has, like I said, very strong points of view. They march to the beat of their own drum in many ways. They're a fully bootstrapped company, but they make their pricing extremely simple. And I've actually heard, because I've heard it right from their founders, of, they're not out here to squeeze every single last bit of revenue out of their customers. They're built, there's another page on this site that says they're built for the Fortune 5 million, which means they have thousands of customers. And so they make their pricing really simple. 2 plans, $15 per user per month, or just a flat $300 per month for unlimited users. So they make it really easy to understand what you get. This one's ideal for freelancers, startups, and small teams. This one's perfect for growing businesses, larger groups, and companies that want the best. They talk about what's included, absolutely everything. They even do a great job here of helping you compare the cost of Basecamp to other tools. And there is a big difference. You could pay $300 for unlimited users, or almost 700 for just 20. And so they do a great job of helping you do that comparison, among many other things on this page. Okay, we touched on that one. Here's a really kind of neat example, the customer bill of rights. And so one of the other things that they have a very strong point of view on, and they really want to help stand out by telling their customers like what it's like to be a Basecamp customer. So the customer bill of rights, they have a number of different articles. One is own the data in your account. Our interest in your data ends at keeping it secure and accessible. Securely use 37 signal products, a team dedicated to maintaining your account security, a real sense of privacy. They're very big on privacy, fast and friendly product support, control your data, request features, and feel heard. They do this really great job of not only differentiating their product, but they differentiate their company. And I think, again, from someone coming in here and maybe trying to decide whether they should switch off Asana or switch off ClickUp, this is something that's going to give them a lot of that peace of mind and help get them over the edge in terms of making that switch. Quick thing to call out here, this page is just dedicated towards, it's /small. It's really dedicated at highlighting who their target customer is. We're built for the Fortune 5 million. So this whole thing, it's a letter from their CEO, Jason Fried, and it's all talking about who their ideal customer is. And again, very strong point of view. They really champion what they call the underdog. They've had ad campaigns and all that stuff for it, because they also feel like they're the underdog. And they're like, we're just like you. We're up there competing against ClickUp and Jira and all these bigger companies. We're just like you. We're built for people like you. Choose us. Okay. A couple of the last ones here. This one with Basecamp, it's a yes. I thought this one was really interesting. It's kind of like a take on an FAQ. Again, a helpful thing to have where people have a lot of questions, and how can you just simply answer those for them? And so this one I really like, because it's, even though Basecamp's remarkably simple and easy to use, it's also incredibly flexible. And it's not like a typical FAQ, because the answer to everything is just yes. So you can see all kinds of things here that they allow you to do, probably common questions that they get. And the answer is just simply yes. The last one that I'll touch on here is called Dazzle Your Clients. And I think this is a really cool example of a page that's just focused on like a clear benefit tied to maybe a potential use case. A lot of the people who use this product have agencies, and they might be, consultancies and agencies, things like that. But they know a big thing that's important to them is dazzling their clients. And I love this page because it makes it really clear that it's like, hey, if you're using this as an agency, this is going to make you look great. And they don't talk about that. This wouldn't necessarily be something that makes it to like their homepage or anything like that. But it is a very big benefit if that's who you are as one of their clients. And so I really like this page. I think if you're an agency, this would be an awesome page for someone to send your way. Say, like, if you have a sales rep who's reaching out, like I've worked with project management companies before, and this is definitely a big benefit. They don't always have something that specifically talks to this point. So I love this idea of making a page that speaks to this one primary benefit, and a whole page just makes it clear and explains how they'll help you dazzle your clients. Cool. So hopefully that gives you a sense of Basecamp's website and how it helps, will help buyers feel more confident about their purchase. Hopefully you're able to take some ideas away from this and inspiration that be like, hey, we should have a page for that. Or, hey, this is like an approach we should take on our site. Because I do think a lot of times, SaaS websites, they follow particular templates and patterns. But what I love about Basecamp is they kind of step outside that box sometimes and try different, sometimes quirky, interesting things. And sometimes they're big hits. So hopefully this gives you some stuff to think about. So I'm going to go back and stop sharing my screen for a second and see, did anything come up? We've got Smart Pass. Natalie, feel free to let me know if there's any that I should be. Okay, so I've got Work Vivo. Here, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so this was one that was shared. Let's go with Retool. Love Retool. Let's see what else we got. Smart Pass, of course. Talked about that one last week, or last session. Awesome. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these. Okay, so I've always been a fan of Retool. I'm waiting for the day that I actually get to try this. But so on their site here, one of the things that stands out to me right away, and I kind of commented on this one when I was on the Basecamp site, but I love like when it hits you right away with the product. They've got a really cool animation here, and I also love how it breaks it down by what I would immediately think of as like different use cases, right? So it's like building mobile apps, building workflows, external apps, and databases. And this is like the first time I've seen something quite like this, where it's an animated kind of automatically starting and showing you the product. But it's cool how they then apply it to different use cases, because you might get someone who lands here and is like, yeah, I'm not building a web app, but I am trying to build a mobile app, or I'm trying to build a workflow in our company, which is very cool. Okay, interesting. I like how they quickly get to social proof. Like one thing that I've started to, when I'm working on a page, is like a lot of times I think social proof is shoved down to the bottom of pages. It's like one of those sections that like comes towards the end. But I've actually started doing sometimes, in some cases with like clients that I work with on, could be not always the homepage, but if it's like a comparison page or a particular product page, is actually moving social proof up higher, where it's actually right below the hero, where we often will have like a logo cloud. But in a lot of cases, especially if it's a comparison page, and imagine if your comparison page, one of the best practices is to, instead of like having your H1 be something like us versus them, having your H1 actually call out your differentiation or help explain your positioning. And then if you could back that up right away with like 3 or 4 quotes, and they don't have to be super long, but if they were testimonials or case studies that drove home that specific point, the sooner you could show that to people, the better, in my opinion. So a couple of things that I like there. I was curious to go to like the use cases page, and I love this. Use cases for Retool, from customer support to fraud detection. But then breaking it down by all of these different industries, all these different team types, all these different integrations. This is something where, because Retool is helping you build things and there's likely different templates and stuff like that. I love this. This kind of reminds me of, there was a product that I'd seen before, and they had, they were like a sales playbook kind of creation product. And they had all these different like plays that you could create in their product, but they had a page like this. And they had all these different plays, like essentially you could create a sales play in their product and it would automate a number of the workflows. And they'd created interactive demos for each one of those plays. And so you could see what it looked like. And then there was a button to go and create this in their product, which, start building now is something you often see when there's like this type of showcase or template library like this. But I always wonder, how close can every SaaS company get to having this sort of thing where there's common use cases? You might not allow people to go in and start it right away for free, but it'd be interesting, if we all tried to get closer to like, hey, could we have a use case section that really broke down our use cases in depth and made it really easier for people to see what they could do in the product? Very cool. Workvivo. I think I'm over time here, but how am I doing on time? Even putting testimonial at the, it's too bad I can't see these comments because these seem really interesting. I'm Workvivo right now. So digital heart of your company, product over. I find this is interesting. This reminds me of a website I've seen before from a company called Sketch. And in the hero, it's like the background itself almost demonstrates their product. And so I find like from a visual perspective, this is really interesting. And I like how, again, it's like a visual up top that helps you quickly grasp what the product is all about. If I click on product overview, where does that send me? Oh, this is cool. Mobile first, unrivaled adoption, ROI of engagement. Yeah, it'd be interesting if I could actually get behind and see the product. So far on the page here, there's not. Yeah, I think this would be like a cool opportunity for something like an explainer video or an interactive demo or something like that. Because these boxes, they're great if I'm willing to read. There's a lot of text on this page, but what would be awesome is to actually see more of the product, I think, on this page. But that's me just looking at it for a couple of minutes. But yeah, so that gets, when I go to product overview, I would expect to see a little bit more of the product here. That's one bit of feedback there. If I click on learn more, maybe I get to see it here. No, not quite. Yeah, if anyone shared Workvivo, which I might actually know who shared that, then that would be like a piece of feedback there for the product overview pages. TEI report. I'm curious about this because one of the things I think from like a buyer first perspective, how do you make it easy for people to build a business case around this? So I like, I don't know a ton of people who do TEI reports, but I do. One of the big benefits is this, right? Like you get these quantifiable, like these proof points with data that you can bring in here, which is like something that we know every team wants. Benefit 1, benefit 2. I like this. This would be really helpful for buyers. One of the cool things when we were at Clue, one of the things that we did when we created our ROI calculator, and so it's helping people quantify their competitive revenue gap. We created this template. It was like created a deck template essentially. And I think they've automated it even further now, but it was a template where you could take those stats and then plug them into a business case template. And it made it really easy for people to then take the kind of the benchmark data, the expected outcome they could get from the product, and then just help coach them on how to present it internally. And so I think this is like a cool approach if you could take this next step further with the TEI report and actually allow people to then turn this into a business case that they could take and justify the cost of Workvivo. Awesome. These are cool examples. I love breaking down this stuff, and might have some future stuff to show in my newsletter. So yeah, if you do like this type of stuff, you know, if you love looking at examples and all that, go check it out. I have a newsletter. It's called PMM Files. If you go to pmmfiles.com, you can subscribe to it. I send it every week, and we've got 5 cool product marketing examples. But yeah, this was fun. Hopefully you all found it pretty helpful. And yeah, thanks for having me on, Natalie. And hope you all, like I said, hope you all walk away with like something practical that you might be able to take back, some inspiration you could take back to your work. But other than that, thanks a lot, everyone.